Thank you. Thank you very much.
Adam Maloney, fair play to you. Adam Maloney, beautiful. Good stuff, man. Another young lad from Shannon doing his thing. Check him out on all the social medias. He's absolutely flying it, lads. And he's a shining example for young musicians in the town. Okay, so just talking about young musicians, I want to thank everybody for being part of Youth in Music. Thank you very, very much. You played an absolute blinder, lads, to be fair to you. So thank you so much. And just talking about young people in the town brings us on to our next bit. There's one of our own residents passed away in March of this year. His name is Pat Costelloe. And he would have loved to have seen what went on today and what's happening today, because it's music and it's young people playing music. So he passed away in March, and he's a big loss to the town. And up next is just a few tribute videos of friends of his that have a few words to say and a few songs to sing about Pat. And the first up is a Shannon resident, and his name is Blaze Phelan. So have a listen.
So I'm going to play one of Pat Costelloe's favourite songs. It's called Baker the Runner, about a man called Joseph Baker, who was a famous athlete in the 1800s in England, the Chester area. And in those days, seemingly, the young men would go from town to town and they would challenge the best runner in the area, and there'd be bets put on by the public. But Joseph Baker seemingly was the fastest man in England and was undefeated at the time of his passing. So Pat used to play this song all the time, and I'd go over to some evenings to Rita's kitchen, and we'd have a glass of wine and a slice of cake and a bit of cheese or something, and we'd chat and then take out the instruments and play tunes, and Pat would usually sing this song. So eventually I learned it myself, and I suppose it will always remind me of those days now. You sporting men of Chester, I'll have you all to hear of a man named Joseph Baker who lived near Delamere. He ran faster than the old red fox and further than the hound, and of all the men who challenged him, no equal could be found. But he'd rise up every morning before the sun was clear, and through the shaded forest he pursued the royal deer, and he chased the wind across the field and the mist right off the hill, and he'd race the dust along the road and the stream down to the mill. Sporting men from far and near came to challenge Baker's speed. In every place, at every race, they swore to do the deed. A butcher came from Shropshire, and a soldier came from Hale, while a sailor came from Birkenhead, and a tailor came from Sale. He was never beaten in a race until that fateful day, when death at last defeated him and stole his breath away. But if you go out on a winter's night, you'll see him running still, as his ghost runs down from Kelshall Church up to Helsby Hill. Yes, if you go out on a winter's night, you'll see him running still, as his ghost runs Hell's Hall Church up to Hellsby Hill.
Cyril and Blackie here, doing a bit of a tribute to our late and missed friend, Pat Costelloe, and all his associates, as well as Pat Broderick, passed at the same time. So,
have you memories of Pat?
yeah, the earliest memory I have of Pat was we used to play we were probably one of the first trad groups to come out of Shannon back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was a group called Traderie. Pat on the banjo, John Lyons on the box, and Pat Mullins on the fiddle, and myself. And he kind of introduced me to a lot of different music as well back then, because Pat, listened to all kinds of music, from bluegrass to Chopin to, Paddy O'Brien. So he was. So yeah, that's kind of my earliest memory. We played together in the band for, 3 or 4 years. Had great crack.
I suppose I remember Pat even when we were in school in the comp in Shannon, and I was padding around with Carl Lynch, who played the banjo as well, and Pat was an enormous influence on Carl, and we'd always be calling up to the house, and his generosity, I think, is one thing that stood out, and his knowledge of, as Cyril said, all types of music. He played the war pipes actually as well. He played everything, I think, really.
Yeah.
And he played the drums. We had our own little kind of connections with him individually, and he was just an absolute gentleman, and as I said, very, very generous with his time and talent and his knowledge. And we're very forever grateful, and he'll be missed. He's sorely missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to do a song or something?
Yeah, one of the first songs that I learned from Pat back then in the group Traderie was he introduced me to a song called England's Motorway, which was written by Ewan McCall, and we used to do it. So I'd love to do this in memory of Pat, and for Rita and her family as well. We're all thinking of you, even though we haven't been able to give you a hug. So. Oh, come, my little son, and I will tell you what to do. Undress yourself and get into bed, and a tale I'll tell to you. It's all about your daddy. He's a man you seldom see, for he had to roam far away from home, far away from you and me. So remember, laddie, he's still your dad. He's walking far away in the cold and heat, 80 hours on the week on England's motorway. Now when you fall and hurt yourself, get to feeling bad, listen, and he used to go running for your dad, for the only time he has been with you, it's been so long ago, when he hadn't a bob and he hadn't a job, he was signing on the bill. So remember, laddie, he's still your dad. He's walking far away in the cold and heat, 80 hours on the week daddy here, it would be fine. But to have him working here at home, see him all the time. Favors can't be choosers, for we'll have to bear our load. We need the money your daddy earns, working on the road. Don't remember, laddie, still your dad, working far away in the cold and heat, 80 hours on the way, on his motorway. Don't remember, laddie, still your dad, he'll soon be home to stay. For a week or two, with me and you, when you're good, motorway. For a week or two, me and you, when he builds his motorway.
And Cyril, well done.
Right, Pat.
We'll play a couple of reels. I suppose, I don't know who I'm talking to. Is it the camera up there, is it? In the last probably 15 years, Pat Costelloe was heavily involved with as a member of the Shaskeen, and I think they're going to be performing as well later. But unfortunately, tragically, in the space of 2 weeks in March, two members of the Shaskeen was Pat Costelloe, and another man that taught me an awful lot was a man called Pat Broderick, a great piper from Lochray, Corundulla. So they had it was a difficult start to what turned out to be a very difficult summer. So we'll play a couple of reels and we'll think of the two boys.
Yeah.
Is that fair enough? And thanks a million. Yeah, we'll do.
And
we'll start.
thanks, Dukes, for having us. It was a pleasure to come down here and do it for Pat, or in memory of Pat. He left a great legacy of music and knowledge behind him, which we're all, as Blackie said, grateful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll start off with the Wild Irishmen, for two Wild Irishmen. a million, lads.
Thank you.
Actually, look, we had many funny stories with Pat. Like, I remember on one occasion he was playing in a small bar, and there was a few friends of his there. I can't remember his friend's name, but Pat was playing the banjo, and his friend was playing the guitar, and they did dueling banjos. And they did so well to make the hair stand up in the back of your head. I absolutely thought it was absolutely fantastic. And he made me get the guitar and play a song, so I did. And I did Me and Bobby McGee. And I deliberately changed keys halfway through, and Pat says, "Oh Jesus," as he looked at him. Just to throw them out. But he was a terrible gentleman, you know, one of a kind.
That man might have been Eric from France, was he? Eric,
Could have been,
Eric
yeah.
used to come over and play. A fabulous player.
Yeah. Absolutely fabulous, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fabulous session, you know.
Yeah.
But he was such an entertainer. And such a melodious voice, you know, even without him ever singing a song. You know? Absolute great radio voice. You know? I know he was a great friend and a big loss.
That's right.
And, you know, a fantastic sense of humour to boot.
He was capable of doing almost everything.
Absolutely.
You were in a group together, Martin.
We were in a group together in the
Fantastic.
80s, myself, Pat, and the late John Lyons.
Yeah, John Lyons, yes.
And we had one hell of a ball in France.
Oh, we had.
In my car, Pat Costelloe's caravan. And we travelled off from Clare and we went off. And I remember I was after coming back from the night before and I said, that's awful tight now, I'll have to come back from Spain. And it just happened the two holidays were together. And I left my car below at Pat's house in Shannon, in Cronin Lawn, he was living at the time. I said, that's grand, Pat. So I said, we can bring my car. He said, grand, and we'll bring my caravan. That's spot on. But I said, I have no plug for the lights. Oh, no bother, he said, I'll fit that for you. And Pat never, no chore was ever too big for Pat.
Never.
No matter what you said, if you asked him to turn that ceiling upside down, he'd look at it and he'd say, yeah, we'll get that. He'd do something for you. But anyway, I said, Pat, I'll be gone now for about 2 weeks. So I said, is the car okay outside your back door? I said, leave it there. He said, and I'll put the, we all was in the back door, so everything was in the back door and Pat's.
Yeah.
And he said, leave it there and I'll get that plug fitted for you for the caravan. I said, grand. And I went away on my holidays for 2 weeks anyway, and I came back. And I was dropped in Shannon, and I said, I get a taxi down to Pat's now. Take my car, go home, pack my bag and go off to France in the morning. And I looked at the car when I got down 2 weeks later, and where was my plug? My plug wasn't there. There was no plug in the car. And we travelled off to Rosslare the following morning at 9 or 10 o'clock. And I said, Pat, I thought we were done then. It's all in hand. He said, it's all in hand. But to cut a long story short, we were there at, I'd say 1 o'clock in the morning with soldering irons and spanners and whatever connecting up. But we got it going. We got our...
Did you do something with the lights as well? Had the lights
He
to
had
be
to
an
turn-
orangey colour?
Yeah, you had to turn them.
There was a cover you could get for them.
Yeah.
where you
an
could turn
orange
them.
bulb.
And they had to be turned the opposite way to what we
They had,
tried
because you were sitting on the other side of the
you're going
road.
to be on the other side of the road,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. But that was... But we made schedule and we had the caravan and myself, yourself
And you had suspensions, very soft suspensions.
oh, that's another story. Oh, Jesus, Pat gave me a story about
Why do you think about that?
what were we going to and not going to do with suspensions then? It was an old Peugeot 504. 660 CIE, I still remember it. And a lot of people know that number, quite obviously.
Yeah.
But we had a mighty time. We visited, we stayed in the caravan in Christian Foucher's house, garden.
In France.
In France, yeah. So he gave us the park for the week and we went to our different concerts and geez, we learned how to cook in French. We learned how to do an awful lot of things. But I can remember the very funny part, the first night we arrived and we all had a good few wines and we all had a good few bits to drink. And Pat Costelloe now would have had quite a command of many tongues. But my friend Pat Mullins here did one even better.
What did I do?
Because the night we went into the first pub and we all got nicely happy on the wine the first night. As usual, we made pigs of ourselves the first night. So you met this old sailor guy inside the door of the pub who had one word of English and you hadn't one word of French. And the two of you spoke together for about 2 solid hours and not one of you understood what the other man was saying. And Pat Costelloe thought, he said, well, no, he said, isn't that just one, and that way he put it, isn't that
But you know
just
what?
wonderful?
I used to throw in an odd word of Irish, and he was throwing in something similar.
Did you get the name of the wine you were drinking? No?
It just came out of a bottle, whatever was in the bottle, we drank it.
Well, my first meeting with Pat was a few years before that. He worked for the same organisation as myself, which was ENCO at the time, and he was based in Limerick and I was based in Shannon. But he became curriculum officer in Limerick and my brother was curriculum officer in Shannon, and they had a lot of communication between them. So he was out one day anyway, and it was the first time I ever met him. And after being introduced to him, he brought me out. There was something about music anyway, and he brought me out to his car, and he had that recording of J. Donnan, where Kathleen Hayhurst and The Trip to Athlone, and them two jigs together in that. And he had that, and he was trying to learn that, and he made a copy of it for me. And we learned it and played it together, and there was an opening of a Cortes branch in Shannon. And I remember distinctly playing them tunes with Pat at the opening of that. But after that, we were in each other's houses from then on, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, well, my first introduction was, I met him through you, Pat, if you remember. The early days here.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It must be, what, 30 years ago, 5 years. Sure, we were mostly outside in the small bar back in Leeds time. And of course, when you Pat would get going telling the Arms and Pat Mullins and Paddy O'Donoghue that often him, he was.
And Sean McMahon.
Sean McMahon, yeah. But I have great memories. We done a CD, Pat and Pat here and Paddy O'Donoghue and myself.
In the small bar.
In the small bar.
I was there, sure.
And Geraldine Cotter, we must mention.
And Geraldine Cotter.
Yes.
Pat recorded it, didn't they?
But it took, that CD took a long time to make. We were about 10 years talking about it and going about practicing it. But we used to, I remember different nights we'd go down to Pat's house or to Pat Mullins here as well.
And Paddy O'Donoghue.
And Paddy's house and
your house.
And over to that. But I remember different nights, you know. I remember one particular night we went down to Pat's and I brought down Paddy, I can remember. And of course, we start off telling yarns and all the rest of it. But we got talking about, remember the bulldozer that was stuck in the bog?
Yeah.
We started in, we were all, we had the big placard out, you know, and all the names of the tunes all ready to rehearse. But by the time we had the bulldozer out of the bog anyway,
There was no much.
the tea was Rita. I must say one thing, it was one of our beautiful houses you ever went into. You always felt when you went into Pat's and Rita's, you always felt at home, you know, there was such a lovely
That
home.
was unique, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we had so much fun rehearsing for that CD and over to Nancy Costelloe there, you know.
That was a miserable cold day. I can remember when you recorded that. And I remember Paddy Donoghue was came in and he had a fire on, an open fire, and he started warming his flute to the fire. I won't elaborate anymore on what Pat said to him.
But we did the whole lot in about 4 hours here that day.
That's right.
After spending 10 years talking.
10 years after, yeah, we recorded in one session out there.
Yeah, that was great. But we got more enjoyment out of it than
And it wasn't a skimpy recording, there was 20 tracks in it.
It was 20 tracks,
yes.
And it's been played regularly on
Of course, Pat was
Clare.
the genius of other music as well, apart from trad.
Oh yeah.
You know, sure, he went to bluegrass.
Well, when he was doing that programme on Clare FM, he took the license of calling it the wheels of the world, which covers everything. You could play anything in that. It doesn't have to
He
be.
had the most, that Sunday night programme we had,
Oh yeah.
that you could hear any classical music.
But
on
never
it.
that problem,
It's
I
fanta-
had it on top of my tongue.
They're very versatile.
I can't think of the name of it now.
Oh, it was lovely.
Yeah, it was gone now. It was a great programme. Anything, any classical, jazz, rock, trance.
I remember a couple of guys came in here one night, the small bar, they were playing kind of out that Billy stuff.
Oh, he loved that.
She had got into backing him with a guitar.
Oh, he loved that.
It was absolutely fantastic.
Actually, it was fantastic musician.
It was, yeah.
I suppose I first met him above in the Honk. I think there was a regular session he used to do up there.
We
I
did
think it was
first
Thursday or Friday nights.
Friday nights, yeah.
And he used to have the banjo. One particular night then he had the bouzouki with him. And he had a mandolin with him the same night. But I was fascinated by the sound of this and I managed to pick up a cheap one. But I tracked him down anyway down to the house and see if he'd give me a few lessons. So he said, come down every Wednesday, we'll say, whatever day it was. Come down at around 7 o'clock, I'll be home. And I'll run through a few bits with you. But she'd arrive at 10 to 7. Rita would let me in, and like you said, the best of hospitality.
To be like the back of the CD.
He'd be helping out someone, but he mightn't turn up till around 8 or half 8 or 9 o'clock, but you'll still get the lesson in. And you'd wait for it, like. But after a few weeks of this, I was thinking, sure, there's no point in me going down there at 7 o'clock. She doesn't turn up till 8, so I'll go down at 8. And I ride down, he was waiting for me, he said, you're late. So we're back to 7 again the following week.
hand, Yoki. How's it going? We are on this camera here. Okay. We're live, yeah. How's it going, lads and lassies? Fantastic tributes there from friends of Pat Costelloe. What a way to pay tribute to a man through stories and music. Pat was a resident many years, very fond of the town, and his family, Rita and Mary. I'd like to thank them actually because they gave us permission to use those videos, because it's obviously a very delicate subject and a man who's sorely missed in this time. I knew him briefly myself, but I kind of knew of him more through stories of other people. But I'm about to chat to a man that knew him very well here, Mr. Tom Cusson. Tom.
How are you doing, Damien?
I'm flying it now, flying it. I'm actually, my heart is beating out of my chest because we're about to have a flaking session here.
And where do you think my heart is?
It's in your three-piece suit, Tom, is it?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Stop. Anyway.
Could you give us an story about Pat, or what comes to mind when you think of Pat?
Well, oh Christ, lots of things. Some of them I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, and but we have great memories. We've had good times. We've had difficult times. We had an odd row, but I suppose, all in all, I would say that I knew Pat for about 38 years, I think, as far as I can recollect. And the first time I seen him was playing a banjo in some house party. That was before COVID now. So, I seen this guy playing a banjo, and banjo players were kind of rare enough in the early 70s, late 70s, early 80s. They were just coming on stream. So we kind of gravitated towards each other simply because of the banjo. And thereupon the friendship kind of struck up, and he came in, he produced a few albums for us in the mid and late 80s, and he started playing in the band from, I reckon, about 1989 or 1990. And, you know, he was thereabouts. He was always available. If he wasn't available, there was somebody else available. That's it. So we've very, very good memories. And his overall contribution to what we did, and his knowledge, his in-depth knowledge of music and things, and indeed the stories, and no better man to hold an audience. He was a master, I think, in the way he sort of, if he was telling a story, and this crowd here now were being a bit noisy and there was a lot of shuffling going on, Pat would be telling the story, and then there would be and all of a sudden the crowd would start listening. Oh, you're back. And that was his way of getting attention, and it was just a nice way of doing it.
I was at your gig in Curfin, in the hall there, and Pat, I just remember pure devilment, like.
Oh, pure. Well, I don't know.
That was just, constantly either slagging somebody.
Well, the way he introduced our guest singer on that night, Katie Teasby, he was behind the black curtain, and this voice came out from no place, and I can't remember the exact words because it was like, ladies and gentlemen, will you please check with your seats that your life jacket and the whistle is underneath, and should you wish to leave at any time, there's the door and that door and things like that. And then he proceeded on. Of course, he had the audience then straight away. Yeah. He proceeded then to introduce Katie on. So I mean, the words came at will, I think, and we bounced off each other a bit, Yeah. It was like Little and Laddle and Hardy, like. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way we were. Savage. And we had a bit of fun. We had a lot of fun, to be honest.
And it came across as well.
It came across. I hope it did.
Anyway. There,
I hope it did, yeah.
Yeah, it sure did. What better way to finish this with some music, Tom?
Fair enough. Well, it's nice to be here in Shannon to do this particular tonight back in Pat's hometown. And indeed, we remember, well, as we now have it, the two Pats, Pat Broderick as well, Ilan Piper, that was playing the band for 20 years or so. Mm-hmm. So we remember them fondly, and the video we did with you recently, which was very poignant, really. it kind of it helped us a good bit to. I suppose I don't know if you ever bring closure, but it certainly brought a little bit of relief, I think, because the fact that we couldn't go and celebrate their funerals as musicians celebrate, it's always difficult. So in this case, the video helped us a lot, hugely, really. And I hope this is why I brought out the three-piece suit tonight, because there's a new era.
It's it. Here we go.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
We're going to flake into it now.
we're going to flake in. We're going to start off with a couple of reels. Touch Me If You Dare and
You talking to me now, Tom? Or?
Flex Pipes. I'm talking to everyone. Thank you, Damien.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, round of applause, please, for Tom Costelloe with Shaskeen. My heart is literally bouncing out of my chest. We have Shaskeen playing live in Shannon, in County Clare, my hometown. This is Shannon. This is my culture. This is Shannon.
Okay, Dave, we'll have a jig from yourself.
Yeah, we'll go into start with the humours of Glen Sheen, and we'll move on to the Connacht Rambles and Merrily Kiss the Quaker's Wife.
this time we're going to have a song from young KTT. It'll be out here. She's going to introduce the song.
I'm going to sing you a song called Go Lassie Go. Oh, the summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower near yon pure crystal fountain, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? If my true love he were gone, I would surely find another where the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? Will you go, lassie, go?
Right, a few reels coming up this time, starting off Welter Connacht, the Bank of Ireland, and Paul Moran.
a wash gig on you. Keep it lit.
Come single bell and bow, come to me pay attention. Don't ever fall in love, it's the devil's own invention. For once I fell in love with a maiden so bewitching, Miss Henrietta Bell out in Captain Kelly's kitchen. Well, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie. At the age of 17, I was apprenticed to a grocer, not far from Stephen's Green, where Miss Henry used to go, sir. Her manners were so fine, so she set my heart twitching, and she invited me to a holy in the kitchen. Well, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, me toodle-lora-laddie. Like someday in the day, shall we plan to have the flare up? I dressed myself quite well, and I ironed and fussed my hair up. But the captain had no wife, now he was gone out fishing. Now he kicked up my life down the low stairs in the kitchen. Well, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, me toodle-lora-laddie. With the arms around her waist, so she slightly hinted marriage, to the door in dreadful haste in Captain Kelly's carriage. Her eyes were full of hate and poison she was spitting, when the captain at the door walked right into the kitchen. With me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, me toodle-lora-laddie. Oh, me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, and me toodle-lora-laddie. When the captain came downstairs, now he saw my situation, and in spite of all me prayers, I was marched off to the station. For me there was no bail, but to get home I was itching. But I had to tell the tale, how I came into the kitchen. Well, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, me toodle-lora-laddie. I said she did invite me, but she gave a flat denial. For assault she did indict me, and I was sent for crime. But she swore I robbed the house, and in spite of all her screeching, so I got 6 months hell for holding in the kitchen. With me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie, me toodle-lora-la, oh me toodle-lora-laddie.
Right, we're going to do a few reels, and after that we have a few guests to join us. We're going to start off with the Knocknagow reel. What's the second one again? The Temple House. And whatever people be doing, kissing the maids behind the back.
Not these days, Tom.
Not these days.
Wash your hands.
No pause.
Okay. And now we're going to round off the evening by inviting a couple of guests up to play the last selection with us. And I'll start with the man behind me, Becky O'Connell on pipes, and a great friend of Pat Broderick's and a great friend of Pat Costelloe's as well. And Sarah O'Donoghue, a great friend of Pat Costelloe's and a friend of Pat Broderick's as well. And I know the Bouzouki man would be playing with Pat Costelloe, and there was often arguments about bazookas and things like that. And different things like that. And
lively discussions.
Discussions.
Lively discussions.
Okay. And the same with Blackie here, and delighted to have a set of pipes with us. So we're going to finish off the evening with
The Bucks of Wardenmore.
the Bucks of Wardenmore, Rakish Paddy. And where would we be going except come west along the road?
Yes.
Woo, thank you very much. Give it Waski.
Right.
Hey!
Very good.